I helped a young mother with her baby and was fired from my job of 5 years. The fluorescent lights of Target in suburban Columbus. Ohio never seemed to get any kinder to your eyes, especially after a 6-hour shift on a Saturday evening. My back was killing me from standing at register number 7, scanning items while Don't Stop Believin' by Journey played through the store speakers for what felt like the 1,000th time this month. Just another day in the life of Sam Thompson, 32, Target cashier extraordinaire. My name tag says Sam here to help, with that stupid red bullseye logo that's been seared into my retinas after 5 years of service. The conveyor belt keeps bringing more stuff toward me. Laundry detergent, Halloween candy. In April, seriously? A multi-pack of Pepsi, and those $5 movies nobody ever watches. Beep, beep, beep. The scanner rhythm becomes hypnotic after a while. Sometimes I wonder how I ended up here. My parents died in a car crash when I was 10, black ice on I-71, a semi that couldn't stop in time. And just like that, my childhood ended on a Tuesday. Grandma Rose took me in, this tiny woman with hands rough from decades of work, but somehow still gentle when she wiped my tears. Kindness is a boomerang, Sammy, she'd tell me while making pancakes on Sunday mornings. Throw it out there, and somehow, someday it comes back to you. I believe her then. Some days I still do. My 1998 Ford F-150 waits for me in the employee parking section. That faded blue beast has 237,000 miles on it and sounds like it's gargling rocks when it starts, but gets me where I need to go. Home is a one-bedroom apartment with rent that keeps creeping up while the water pressure keeps getting worse. The landlord calls it cozy urban living. I call it all I can afford on $16.75 an hour. Most of my paycheck goes to helping my sister Kate with her boys Tom, 8, and Luke, 5. She's been raising them alone since her ex decided fatherhood was cramping his lifestyle 3 years ago. Those kids are the light of my life, though. Last weekend, I took them fishing at Alum Creek. Luke caught his first bluegill and screamed so loud, I think they heard him in Cleveland. Worth every penny of the $30 in tackle I bought them. My girlfriend Melissa doesn't understand why I waste money on my nephews. She works at Nordstrom and dreams of an Instagram-perfect life. Designer handbags, Miami Beach vacations, brunches that cost more than my daily wage. Last week she rolled her eyes when I bought the boys the new Spider-Man comics, instead of getting her that perfume she wanted. When do you even get a real job, Sam? She asked while scrolling through her phone, not even looking at me. My friends' boyfriends are in finance or tech. I can't keep telling them you're between opportunities when they ask what you do. I didn't tell her that I actually like my job most days. Sure, retail has its moments that make me want to scream into the void, but there's something real about it. I see everyone at Target, the tired moms, the confused college kids learning to grocery shop, the elderly couples who've been married 50 years and still hold hands while arguing about which pasta sauce to buy. My boss, Mr. Peterson, is obsessed with Target's corporate policies. His forehead vein pops out whenever someone forgets to push the Target Circle Rewards spiel. You've got 30 seconds per customer. Sam. Efficiency is customer satisfaction. He was probably born wearing a red polo and khakis. My co-workers make the job bearable. Tina runs register number 5 and has a mental catalog of weird customer combinations. Register 5. We got another toilet paper and chocolate milk guy. She'll whisper as I walk by, making me snort with laughter. Joe, our 63-year-old security guard, tells stories about singing Bon Jovi songs at karaoke bars in the 80s, back when his mullet was the envy of Franklin County. My mornings start with coffee from a vending machine that tastes like it was filtered through an old sock. The afternoon commute means sitting in traffic on I-270, listening to classic rock, and dreaming about someday fishing on Lake Erie instead of just the local reservoirs. You know how it is, grinding away to survive while holding on to the belief that life has something more in store. Grandma Rose believed that everyone has a purpose. Even when life seems small, you're part of something bigger, she'd say, quilting on the porch swing. She died 5 years ago, leaving me her recipe box and the wisdom I still carry. I miss her cinnamon rolls and her laugh that could fill up a room. Sometimes when I'm scanning groceries, I imagine the stories behind the purchases. The woman buying cake mix, balloons, and candles is celebrating someone special. The guy with the frozen dinners and energy drinks probably works night shifts like my buddy Dave used to. The teenager nervously buying fancy cologne and breath mints is having a very important night planned. Everyone has their story. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote that the purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. I read that in a book Grandma gave me when I graduated high school. It's dog-eared on my nightstand, next to the photo of my parents at Cedar Point, smiling with the wind in their hair. Last Tuesday, Melissa wanted to go to this fancy cocktail bar downtown, where drinks cost $18 each. I couldn't afford it after buying Luke new shoes for school. She sighed that disappointed sigh she perfected over our 2 years together. Sometimes I wonder if we're just two people heading in different directions, pretending we're on the same path. Life isn't about collecting stuff, Melissa. I told her. It's about collecting moments. She looked at me like I'd suggested we live in a cave and forage for berries. Kate says I deserve someone who values what I value. Maybe she's right. But dating in your 30s when you work retail and drive a truck that's old enough to vote isn't exactly setting the world on fire. Plus, there's history with Melissa. We were happy once, I think, before she started following all those luxury lifestyle accounts. My apartment has that generic beige carpet and off-white walls that scream rental property. But I've made it mine with fishing photos, my vinyl record collection. Started with Grandma's old Beatles albums, and the quilt she made me for my 16th birthday. Home isn't about square footage. It's about where you feel at peace. The thing about working at Target is you see America's highs and lows in your checkout line. The mom counting out coins to pay for diapers. The businessman who doesn't even look up from his phone while I bag his groceries. The elderly vet who tells me about his grandkids while carefully organizing coupons. We're all just people trying to get through another day. Today the store was particularly crowded. End of month, payday for many folks, and a sale on summer items brought everyone out. My feet were throbbing, and I still had 2 hours left on my shift. The line at my register stretched back to the pharmacy section. Mr. Peterson kept walking by, pointing at his watch like that would somehow make me scan faster. Tina caught my eye from register number 5 and mimicked Peterson's walk, chest puffed out, exaggerated pointing motion. I had to pretend to cough to hide my laugh. This is how we survive. A customer tried to use an expired coupon from 2023 and spent 10 minutes arguing that the customer is always right before storming off to speak to corporate. Joe watched the whole thing and later slipped me a Reese's cup from his lunchbox. "For combat pay," he whispered with a wink. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Kate saying Tom got an A on his science project I helped him with last weekend. We built a model of the solar system using old Christmas ornaments and paint from the dollar store. Those small victories keep me going. As my shift dragged on, the fluorescent lights seemed to get brighter and Sweet Caroline came on the store speakers. I watched Joe unconsciously mouthing the words while checking receipts at the exit. My scanner beeped rhythmically. Tina called for a price check on organic avocados. Just another Saturday at Target. I didn't know then that in just a few minutes, everything would change. That my ordinary life was about to become extraordinary. That the boomerang Grandma Rose told me about was finally making its return journey. All because of one small moment of kindness that most people wouldn't think twice about. The woman who walked up to my register looked exhausted in that unique way only new parents understand. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes, and a baby about 9 months old fussing in the cart. Little did I know that this moment, this completely ordinary moment on a Saturday evening in Columbus, Ohio, would be the beginning of something that would change everything. The woman with the fussy baby stepped up to my register, exhaustion written across her face as she gently rocked the cart back and forth. The store was starting to empty out as closing time approached, and the overhead fluorescence seemed even harsher against her pale skin. As I greeted her with my standard Target smile, I had absolutely no clue that the next few minutes would set off a domino effect that would completely upend my ordinary life. Her name was Emma, I later found out. She looked about my age, maybe a bit younger. Her baby girl, probably around 9 months old, was working up to a full meltdown in the shopping cart. That red face, hiccuping kind of cry that makes everyone in earshot feel the stress. Emma kept whispering to her, gently stroking her cheek with a tired smile. When I finished scanning her small pile of groceries, she placed a package of diapers on the belt. Pampers, size 3, $25.99. Nothing special about that. Dozens of parents buy diapers at Target every day. But what happened next is what changed everything. Emma dug through her purse, pulling out a small change purse. She carefully counted out bills and coins onto the counter. $7.20 total. Her cheeks flushed as she mumbled that she thought she had more money. The baby's cries grew louder, as if sensing her mother's embarrassment. Emma started to put the diapers aside, saying she'd have to come back another day. Something about her reminded me of Kate when Luke was a baby and her ex first left. That same exhausted dignity, trying to hold it all together when the world is falling apart around you. But more than that, I remembered Grandma Rose emptying her coin jar so I could get new notebooks for school, even though I knew her arthritis medication was due for refill. I told Emma to give me a second. I've worked at Target long enough to know all the ins and outs of the system. I use my employee discount, the 10% we get on store purchases, bringing the price down to $23.39. Then I swiped my debit card for the remaining $16.19 that she couldn't cover. Not a huge amount, but it represented my dinner and gas money for the rest of the week. Ramen noodles it would be. The relief on Emma's face was worth more than $16 and change. I bagged the diapers and handed them to her, telling her to hang in there, that things would get better. I meant it, too. They always do, eventually. That's what Grandma Rose would say. Emma thanked me profusely, which made me uncomfortable. It wasn't a big deal, just a human moment between two people. As she was gathering her things, she pulled out her phone, asking if she could get my name in case she could pay me back someday. I introduced myself, and she took a quick video of me scanning the diapers and handing her the bag. I said something like, "No problem," or "Don't worry about it." Just normal cashier talk. The whole interaction lasted maybe 2 minutes. Then the next customer was already pushing their cart forward, and Emma was heading toward the exit with her baby and groceries. Just another moment in another day at Target. Or so I thought. Tuesday morning started like any other. I grabbed my coffee from the 7-Eleven, parked in my usual spot at the back of the employee lot, and clocked in 5 minutes early like I always do. Tina was telling me about her cat's latest attempt to catch the neighbor's parakeet when Mr. Peterson appeared beside me, his face more serious than usual. "Sam, I need to see you in my office." Peterson's office is a glorified closet with Target motivational posters and a desk covered in procedural manuals. He gestured to the folding chair across from him and closed the door. Never a good sign. Security cameras had caught my transaction with Emma. Specifically, they caught me using my employee discount for a customer, which is explicitly against company policy. According to Peterson, this constituted theft of company resources and procedural violation. I tried explaining that I paid for the purchase with my own money, that I was just trying to help someone in need. Peterson's face remained impassive. He kept repeating rules are rules, like some corporate mantra. I'd seen him look the other way plenty of times when other rules were broken, when Tina took extra break minutes or when a morning team left their zone duties incomplete. But this was different somehow. 5 years of service, 3 Employee of the Month awards, countless overtime shifts during holidays. None of it mattered. Peterson slid a termination notice across his desk for me to sign. Just like that, I was fired. I cleaned out my locker in a daze, my Cashier of the Month mug, spare phone charger, the paperback copy of Walden that Grandma gave me that I read during breaks. 5 years of my life fit into a shoebox. Joe, the security guard, gave me a bear hug on my way out, promising to call me about fishing once the weather improved. I didn't have the heart to tell him that my phone might be disconnected soon if I couldn't find work. Walking to my truck, I felt like the ground beneath me had disappeared. My mind raced through bills coming due, rent, cell phone, insurance, the money I send Kate for the boys, all suddenly in jeopardy because I helped a mom buy diapers. Emma returned to Target 2 days later, looking for me. I wasn't there, of course, but Tina was, according to Tina, who called me that evening. Emma had come to thank me personally and returned the $16.19. Instead, Tina had to tell her I'd been fired over the incident. Emma was shocked, explaining she had just been grateful for the help and never meant to cause any trouble. That same night, Melissa came over to my apartment. She'd heard about the firing through a friend who worked at the Target pharmacy. I could tell from her expression as she walked through the door that something had shifted between us. She paced my small living room, talking about how embarrassing it was that everyone knew her boyfriend got fired for breaking rules, how she couldn't deal with dating someone unemployed, how this wasn't what she signed up for. "You're such a loser, Sam," she said, gathering her things from my bathroom. "Always playing the hero instead of taking care of yourself. Or us." 2 years of dating ended in 20 minutes. She took my favorite Fleetwood Mac vinyl on her way out, the one Grandma Rose had given me on my 16th birthday. Said it was payment for dinner she bought last week. The door slammed with such finality that my neighbor's cat ran under the couch. I called Kate after Melissa left, needing to hear a friendly voice. She tried to be supportive, but I could hear the worry in her voice. She was already 2 months behind on rent, and Luke needed dental work. I'd always been her safety net, and now that net had giant holes in it. "It'll work out, Sammy," she said, using my childhood nickname. "You did the right thing. That's what matters." But did it matter? Sitting in my pickup truck later that night, listening to a worn-out Tom Petty cassette and watching the rain hit my windshield, I wondered if Grandma Rose had been wrong all along. Free Fallon played as I counted the cash in my wallet. $43 and some change. Not exactly a fortune to rebuild a life on. My philosophy professor in community college once quoted Kant. "Act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time, or that it should become a universal law." Basically, do what you want everyone else to do in your situation. I'd want everyone to help a struggling mom buy diapers. So why did doing the right thing feel so wrong right now? Henry David Thoreau wrote that goodness is the only investment that never fails. But man, it sure felt like my kindness stock had crashed hard. Grandma Rose always said, kindness isn't about a reward. It's about who you are. Sitting there with rain drumming on the roof of my old truck, jobless and girlfriendless, I wondered, is kindness worth this price? The next morning, I started applying for jobs online at the public library since my internet would probably be cut off soon. Cashier positions at Kroger, Walmart, even the gas station down the street. Nobody seemed interested in hiring the guy who got fired for theft of company resources, even though I'd explained the situation in every cover letter. Tina texted me job leads and updates about work. Joe called to check in. Kate brought over lasagna with the boys, who seemed to think my unemployment was some kind of extended vacation. "Can we go fishing again now that you don't have to work?" Luke asked with that innocent excitement only a 5-year-old can muster. By day 5 of unemployment, my apartment felt smaller. The walls seemed to close in as I refreshed my email, hoping for interview requests that never came. The quiet was the worst part. After years of constant store noise, beeping scanners, overhead announcements, customer conversations, the silence of my apartment felt oppressive. That night, I found myself reading through old birthday cards from Grandma Rose, seeking some wisdom or comfort. In one for my 21st birthday, she'd written, "The world breaks everyone, Sammy, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." Hemingway, she'd noted beneath it. I traced her handwriting with my finger, wishing she were here to tell me what to do next. On day 7, I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop. Text from Kate, Tina, even Joe, all saying the same thing. "Have you seen it? You're famous," with links to Instagram and Twitter. My stomach dropped. Famous? For what? I clicked the first link with a sense of dread, wondering what humiliation would be added to my unemployment. The video loaded slowly on my cheap phone, and there I was, scanner in hand, passing the bag of diapers to Emma. The caption read, "This man's sacrifice for my daughter. Hashtag Target Hero." I had no idea that this simple act of kindness, captured in a 15-second video by a grateful mother, would explode across the internet. Or that Emma wasn't just any mom with a camera phone. She was a mommy blogger with nearly 1 million followers. Or that her post about my firing would trigger a social media storm that would sweep me into an unexpected spotlight, for better or worse. As I stared at my face on the screen and the rapidly climbing view count, I remembered something else Grandma Rose used to say: sometimes the smallest stone makes the biggest ripple. I just never imagined I'd be that stone, or that the ripples would turn into waves that would carry me places I never expected to go. Those ripples turned into a tidal wave faster than I could have imagined. Within 48 hours, Emma's video had over 5 million views. Turns out she wasn't just some random mom. She was Emma Motherhood, a popular influencer with nearly 1 million followers who documented her journey as a single mother. Her audience of mostly moms across America rallied behind my story with unexpected passion. The hashtag Target Hero started trending on multiple platforms, and suddenly my face was everywhere. People I had never met were defending me, attacking Target's policies, and sharing their own stories of corporate heartlessness. The most surreal moment came when I was eating a sad bowl of off-brand macaroni and cheese and saw myself on the local news. Channel 5 Cleveland ran a whole segment titled, "Cashier Becomes Symbol of Kindness, Loses Everything." They showed B-roll footage of the Target where I'd worked, interviewed random shoppers about whether they'd have done the same thing, and even got a statement from Target corporate. "We value compassion in our team members, but must maintain consistent application of company policies." I sat on my couch in basketball shorts and a faded Buckeyes t-shirt, watching strangers debate my life choices on television. The anchor called me, a modern-day Good Samaritan caught in the crossfire of corporate policy and human compassion. It felt like an out-of-body experience, seeing my face on screen while eating $5 pizza and worrying about making rent. Social media exploded with comments from people I'd never meet. Target fires heroes while we pay for their products. This is what's wrong with America. Kindness gets punished. Let's all buy diapers and return them to protest. Some folks even started organizing a boycott of Target, filming themselves returning merchandise and posting with hashtag Target boycott. Someone created a GoFundMe for me without my permission, which quickly raised thousands of dollars. I couldn't access any of it without confirming my identity, which felt weird and exploitative, so I never did. Walt Whitman once wrote, "Be curious, not judgmental." But the internet had skipped straight to judgment, casting me as a hero and Target as a villain in some modern morality play I never auditioned for. The truth, as always, was more complicated. I'd broken a policy I knew existed. Peterson was just doing his job, even if he'd been unnecessarily rigid about it. The strangest part about becoming internet famous? It doesn't pay the bills. Despite millions of people knowing my story, my bank account still showed $167.43. My rent was due in 2 weeks. I'd sent out 27 job applications since getting fired, but the handful that responded suddenly went silent when they realized I was that Target guy. One hiring manager at Kroger was brutally honest. "We don't need the drama, man. Too many cameras might follow you here." Fame, as it turns out, is a currency that can't buy groceries or keep the lights on. As the social media storm raged, journalists started calling. How they got my number, I'll never know, though I suspect Tina might have leaked it. Good Morning America wanted an interview, so did The Ellen Show and half a dozen podcasts. I declined them all. The last thing I needed was to become more famous for being fired. I just wanted a job and for everyone to forget about me. Meanwhile, my 15 minutes of fame was already fading. The viral outrage machine had moved on to some politician's gaffe and a video of a water-skiing squirrel. But I remained unemployed, still broke, and now had the added joy of being recognized at the grocery store as that Target guy. By day 10 of unemployment, I hit rock bottom. My truck needed repairs I couldn't afford. 3 more job applications came back rejected. I was down to eating ramen noodles straight from the pot, because why dirty a bowl with the lights off to save on the electric bill? I remembered Grandma Rose quoting Ernest Hemingway, "The world breaks everyone, Sammy, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." I certainly felt broken, but the strength part seemed elusive as I counted the dwindling cash in my wallet. That evening, my doorbell rang unexpectedly. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a brief paranoid moment, I wondered if reporters had found my address. When I opened the door, Emma was standing there awkwardly with a Starbucks tray in one hand and, ironically, a package of diapers in the other. Lily, her daughter, was strapped to her chest in one of those baby carrier things, sleeping peacefully. "Your sister Kate responded to my DM," she explained, looking both mortified and determined. "I needed to see you in person. I feel terrible about what happened." We sat at my tiny kitchen table. Really just a card table with folding chairs that Grandma Rose gave me when I first moved out. Emma told me she never intended for the video to blow up like it did. She'd just been overwhelmed by my kindness and wanted to thank me. When she found out I'd been fired, she added that to her post, and things spiraled from there. As we talked, I learned more about Emma. She'd been through her own struggles. Divorced when she found out she was pregnant, built her blog from nothing while working as a receptionist, finally making enough from sponsorships to focus on Lily full-time. She understood what it meant to have the rug pulled out from under you. There was something warm and genuine about Emma that I hadn't felt with anyone in a long time. When she laughed at my story about washing cars at 13 to buy Grandma Rose tickets to a Johnny Cash concert, something shifted in the room. "You were born to be a hero," she said with a smile. I joked back, "A hero without a job," which made her snort coffee through her nose. We ended up talking for hours. Emma told me about her battle with postpartum depression and how sharing her journey online had connected her with a community that kept her afloat. I told her about Grandma Rose raising me after my parents died, about Kate and the boys, about my failed relationship with Melissa. Mark Twain once wrote, "The best way to cheer yourself is to try to cheer someone else up." Sitting there with Emma, laughing about our shared disasters, I felt lighter than I had in days. But reality crashed back when my phone buzzed with another declined job application. Emma left with a promise to stay in touch, to help however she could. I appreciated the thought, but didn't see how a mommy blogger could solve my very real unemployment problem. My savings, now down to $138 after buying groceries, wouldn't last much longer. The next morning, I woke up feeling slightly more hopeful after talking with Emma. Maybe things would eventually turn around, but reality was still harsh. My bank account was dwindling, applications were being rejected, and internet fame wasn't helping pay the bills. As I scrolled through more job listings, wondering if I should expand my search beyond Columbus, I remembered something else Grandma Rose used to say. "Sometimes God closes a door and opens a window, but it's hell being stuck in the hallway." I was definitely stuck in that hallway, and the air was getting thin. That evening, I stared at the ceiling of my tiny apartment, thinking about the strange day and my conversation with Emma. Maybe Grandma Rose had been right all along. Maybe kindness really was a boomerang. I just hoped it wouldn't take too long to find its way back to me. The morning after talking with Emma, my phone rang while I was mindlessly scrolling through more job listings. Unknown number with an Ohio area code. Probably another bill collector, I figured, or maybe a persistent reporter still trying to milk what little was left of the hashtag Target Hero story. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me swipe to answer. The polished, professional voice on the other end introduced herself as Sandra Phillips, marketing director at Pampers. My heart skipped a beat. Why would Pampers be calling me? Her next words left me speechless. "Sam, we want you to help us change the world." I nearly dropped my phone into my cereal bowl. This had to be a prank. Maybe Tina getting some Target employees to mess with me. But as Sandra explained Pampers' interest in my story, the genuine enthusiasm in her voice convinced me this was real. They had seen Emma's viral video, followed the subsequent media coverage, and were impressed by what they called my authentic compassion. "Your kindness embodies the values we stand for at Pampers," Sandra explained. We've been developing a new community outreach initiative, and we believe you'd be the perfect person to lead it. The program was called Diapers for Dignity, aimed at providing essential baby supplies and support to low-income families across America. They wanted me, a recently fired retail worker with zero corporate experience, to be the face and driving force behind it. The salary offer made me choke, $120,000 per year, plus benefits and bonuses. I'd been making about $34,000 at Target. This was nearly 4 times my previous salary. The kind of money that could completely transform my life, help Kate with the boys' college funds, and replace my ancient truck that made concerning noises every time it rained. When the official offer letter arrived by email an hour later, I kept reading it over and over, certain there was a catch. But there it was in black and white, a legitimate job offer from one of the biggest companies in America, all because I'd helped a mom buy diapers and someone happened to film it. Later that day, I had a video call with the Pampers team. I wore my only decent button-up shirt and strategically positioned my laptop to hide the peeling paint in my apartment. The 3 executives looked exactly how you'd expect. Polished, confident, with the kind of perfect teeth that come from excellent healthcare plans. To my surprise, they seemed genuinely interested in my perspective. They didn't want to become some corporate drone, reciting PR talking points. They valued that I came from outside their bubble, that I understood the struggles of everyday families firsthand. Listening to their vision for Diapers for Dignity, I remembered something Grandma Rose always told me. Dream for others and your own dreams will come true. She believed that focusing on helping other people was the surest path to finding purpose and happiness. This opportunity seemed like the perfect embodiment of her philosophy. 2 weeks later, I signed the contract and moved to a slightly better apartment where the hot water actually worked consistently. My first day walking into Pampers' regional office, wearing a new suit that still had the price tags in my pocket, just in case I needed to return it. I felt like an imposter. The security guard gave me an actual employee badge with my photo on it. I had a desk with a nameplate. The coffee machine had 16 different settings. The learning curve was almost vertical. Corporate America might as well have been a foreign country with its own language and customs. I had to learn jargon, circle back, synergy, bandwidth, navigate office politics, and figure out how to use Excel without looking completely clueless. My first meeting with the marketing team left me with a notebook full of acronyms I didn't understand. But the core of the job, helping struggling families, that part made perfect sense to me. I pushed for Diapers for Dignity to go beyond just distributing products. We needed to address the underlying issues: lack of affordable childcare, inadequate parental support systems, and the isolation many new parents feel. A package of diapers solves a problem for a day, I told the executive board during my first presentation, hands shaking so badly I had to keep them in my pockets. But access to affordable childcare and parenting resources changes lives permanently. To my amazement, they listened, whether motivated by genuine concern or the marketing potential of a more comprehensive program. They approved my expanded vision. Diapers for Dignity evolved to include partnerships with daycare providers offering subsidized spots for low-income families, parenting workshops, and community support groups, all while still distributing those essential diapers and baby supplies. As I was finding my footing in this new professional world, my personal life was changing too. Emma and I started spending more time together, initially under the pretext of discussing how her blog could help promote the program. But soon we were texting daily, sharing jokes and stories that had nothing to do with work or diapers. Weekend mornings found us walking through Schiller Park, Lily babbling happily in her stroller, pointing at dogs and squirrels with equal excitement. Emma would identify flowering trees and plants, knowledge from her pre-mom life as an amateur gardener. I'd share stories about Kate's boys and their latest adventures, like Tom's disaster science fair volcano that ended up dyeing the family cat partially purple. We'd grab lunch at the old-fashioned diner on 3rd Street, laughing at the ridiculous TikTok videos about hashtag Target Hero that were still circulating. Some portrayed me as a saint. Others had added dramatic music and slow-motion effects to the security footage like I was in an action movie instead of just helping someone buy diapers. during one of our park walks. Emma explained why she'd been short on money that fateful day at Target. Her blog sponsorship payment had been delayed, and her ex-husband's child support check had bounced. Again, she'd been too proud to ask her parents for help, determined to make it on her own. I recognized that stubborn independence. It reminded me of Grandma Rose, who'd rather eat soup for a week than ask neighbors for help. I found myself looking forward to seeing Emma more than anything else. There was something refreshingly honest about her. No pretense, no hidden agendas or social media posturing. Just a hard-working single mom trying to build a good life for her daughter while staying true to herself. The moment I realized I was falling for her happened at her apartment on a rainy Sunday evening. She was singing a lullaby to Lily, something soft and sweet about moonbeams and dreams. I looked at them, this strong, caring woman cradling her daughter, and suddenly pictured us as a family. The image felt so right it almost knocked the wind out of me. Aristotle said that love is composed of a single soul inhabiting two bodies. Watching Emma with Lily that night, I finally understood what that meant. Some connections just make sense, like finding the missing piece that makes the whole picture clearer. Of course, life has a way of introducing plot twists when you least expect them. Just as my relationship with Emma was deepening, my phone lit up with a text from Melissa. "Sam, I was wrong about you. You're a star now. Can we talk?" 6 months earlier, I would have jumped at the chance to reconnect with Melissa. Now, reading her message while sitting on Emma's couch with Lily asleep against my chest, it felt like a message from a different lifetime. I remember Melissa's disgust when I lost my job, how she called me a loser and walked out, taking my favorite Fleetwood Mac vinyl as some kind of parting trophy. I responded simply, "Stars don't go backwards." Then I silenced my phone and focused on the moment. The weight of Lily sleeping against me, Emma's smile as she brought in mugs of hot chocolate, the comfortable quiet of being with people who value you for who you are, not what you have. When I told Tina about Melissa's text during our monthly catch-up lunch, she nearly choked on her sandwich laughing. "Karma is when life gives your story a thumbs up," she said, mimicking a social media-like button. "And honey, your story just got all the likes." 3 months into my role at Pampers, I returned to the same Target where I'd been fired, this time as a Pampers executive launching a partnership with their stores for diaper donation bins. Mr. Peterson did a double take when he saw me walking in with the regional manager, who introduced me as the visionary behind Diapers for Dignity. Peterson awkwardly extended his hand, muttering something about how he always saw potential in me. I simply smiled and said, "Sometimes getting fired is the best thing that can happen to a person." The regional manager thought I was being magnanimous. Peterson and I both knew better. I made sure to connect with Tina and Joe, though. Tina had been promoted to customer service manager, a role perfect for someone who could defuse angry customers with a well-timed joke. Joe was still working security, but now had weekends off to spend with his grandkids. We took a selfie together by register number 7, the scene of the small moment that had changed everything. As Diapers for Dignity gained momentum, expanding to 12 cities in its first 6 months, I occasionally had moments of disbelief. Walking into my office, I had an actual office with a window, seeing the program materials with my quotes on them, hearing stories from families who've been helped. It all seemed surreal, like I was living someone else's life. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "To give is to receive." Standing in a suit that still felt foreign on my body, leading a program helping thousands of families, I understood what he meant more clearly than ever. My simple act of kindness toward Emma had returned to me tenfold. A new career, a new relationship, a chance to make a difference on a scale I never imagined. On my office wall hung a framed receipt for $16.19, the amount I'd paid for Emma's diapers that night at Target. Below it, I'd written Grandma Rose's words. "Kindness is a boomerang, Sammy. Throw it out there, and somehow, someday, it comes back to you." The boomerang had returned, bringing with opportunities one never could have imagined when I was scanning groceries at register number 7. But more importantly, it had brought Emma and Lily into my life, a chance at the kind of family I'd missed since losing my parents and Grandma Rose. As I looked toward the future, both for Diapers for Dignity and for my relationship with Emma, I felt a sense of purpose and belonging that had eluded me for years. Whatever came next, I knew that small act of kindness had set me on exactly the right path. As my one-year anniversary with Pampers approached, I found myself in a glass-walled conference room overlooking downtown Columbus, seated across from the company's entire executive leadership team. The CEO, a woman whose photo I'd seen in business magazines, smiled as she slid a folder toward me. "Sam, Diapers for Dignity has exceeded our wildest expectations," she said. "We want to take it national." Inside the folder was a contract that made my hands tremble. $3.5 million to expand the program to all 50 states. With a dedicated team reporting to me and a new product line called Sam's Care that would donate a percentage of profits directly to the foundation. The numbers seemed surreal. More money than I ever imagined being responsible for, especially considering a year earlier I was counting quarters for gas. The expansion plan included partnerships with major hospitals, government assistance programs, and even a celebrity spokesperson, though I argued successfully that real parents sharing their stories would be more effective than some Hollywood star who never worried about affording diapers. After signing the contract, I drove to Lake Erie and sat watching waves lap against the shore, something I dreamed of doing during those long shifts at Target, but could never find the time or money for. Life had transformed so quickly that sometimes I needed these quiet moments to process everything. My phone buzzed with congratulatory texts from the team after the company-wide announcement. Then came one from Emma that made me smile. "Proud of you, Target hero. Dinner at my place to celebrate? Lily wants to show you her new dance moves." Within 6 months, Diapers for Dignity centers opened in 27 states. My face appeared in national news segments, and I was invited to speak at conferences about corporate social responsibility. My first TED Talk was terrifying, me, a former cashier, addressing a theater full of entrepreneurs, academics, and innovators. But the standing ovation afterward confirmed what Emma had been telling me all along. My authenticity was my strength. "People don't connect with corporate talking points," she'd said while helping me practice. "They connect with real experiences. Just tell your story the way you tell it to me." The foundation we established was helping over 200,000 families annually with not just diapers, but comprehensive support systems. We'd partner with childcare providers, parenting resource centers, and job placement services to address the root causes of financial insecurity for young families. Best of all was reading the letters and emails from parents whose lives had changed because of the program. A single dad in Detroit who could finally afford to work fewer hours and spend time with his son. A teenage mother in Phoenix who completed her education thanks to our child care stipend. Each story reminded me of what Grandma Rose always said. When you light a candle for someone else, your own path becomes brighter too. My personal life was blossoming alongside my professional success. Emma and I had settled into the kind of relationship I'd always hoped existed, but never experienced. Built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine enjoyment of each other's company. Lily, now approaching her 2nd birthday, had started calling me Sammy after hearing Kate's boys use the nickname. One evening, as Emma and I were washing dishes side by side in her kitchen, Lily helping by splashing water everywhere, I realized with sudden clarity that I wanted this to be my forever, not just occasional evenings and weekends, but all of it permanently. The idea of proposing terrified and excited me in equal measure. I spent weeks planning, wanting everything to be perfect. I considered restaurants, parks, even the lakefront where I'd contemplated my changing fortune. But none felt right until I had an epiphany while driving past the Target where it all began. It had to be there, at the exact spot where a simple act of kindness had changed both our lives. It might seem unromantic to some, but for us, that humble parking lot was more meaningful than any fancy restaurant or scenic outlook. I enlisted Tina and Joe to help, swearing them to secrecy. Tina nearly squealed with delight, while Joe, in his typical understated fashion, simply nodded and said, "About time, kid." On a Friday evening, exactly 1 year after Emma and I first met, I suggested we stop by Target to pick up supplies for Lily. Emma raised an eyebrow. I usually avoided the store given my history there, but didn't question it further. The spring evening was perfect, with golden hour sunlight casting everything in a warm glow. I'd arranged for Kate to meet us there with Tom and Luke, under the pretext of running into each other by chance. The boys immediately engaged Lily in an elaborate game of peek-boo around her stroller, giving me the moment I needed. In the exact spot of parking space number 27, where Emma had loaded her groceries that fateful night, I took her hand. The old lamppost above us flickered on as the sun began to set, casting a spotlight that felt almost staged in its perfection. Lily laughed from her stroller, pointing at something Tom was showing her, her joy providing the perfect soundtrack. Emma looked at me curiously as I fumbled for words, suddenly forgetting the speech I'd rehearsed for weeks. Instead, I spoke from the heart about how a package of diapers had somehow led us here, how grateful I was that she'd been short $16.19 that night, how her strength and kindness had shown me what real partnership could be. Then I knelt down, right there on the asphalt where thousands of shoppers had trodden, and asked her to marry me. Her yes was immediate, her eyes filled with happy tears. Tom and Luke cheered so loudly that shoppers turned to stare, while Kate captured everything on her phone. Lily, not understanding but feeling the excitement, clapped her hands and shouted, "Yay!" her favorite new word. That summer, we married in Schiller Park under a canopy of maple trees. No lavish ceremony or expensive venue. Just the people who mattered most to us, gathered in a place where we'd spent so many weekends walking and talking. Kate was my best person, while Emma's college roommate stood as her maid of honor. Lily toddled down the aisle, throwing flower petals with surprising accuracy for a 2-year-old. Joe from Target Security walked Emma down the aisle, a role he accepted with tears in his eyes when she explained she had no father in her life to ask. Tina organized a surprise reception detail. Cookies decorated like Target receipts with $16.19 written in icing. Even Mr. Peterson showed up, looking uncomfortable but making an effort, which I appreciated more than I expected. Our honeymoon was a simple week at a cabin on Lake Erie, the vacation spot I dreamed about during those long Target shifts. We built sandcastles with Lily, read books on the porch during her naps, and talked about the future we wanted to build together. 6 months after our wedding, Diapers for Dignity had expanded to all 50 states with international pilot programs launching in Canada and the UK. The Sam's Care product line had exceeded sales projections by 37%, with every purchase providing essential supplies to families in need. I was invited back to Target, not as a former employee, but as a corporate partner launching a major donation initiative. Walking through those automatic doors, hearing that familiar beeping of scanners, smelling the unique combination of popcorn and cleaning products, it was like visiting a past life. Mr. Peterson greeted me in the manager's office, now decorated with photos of his grandchildren. "You won," he said simply, extending his hand. I shook and replied, "No, I just threw a boomerang." He didn't understand the reference, but nodded anyway. Tina, now a regional trainer for Target, hugged me so hard she nearly knocked me over. "From cashier to corporate big shot in 2 years," she laughed. "If you can do it, maybe there's hope for the rest of us retail warriors." Joe, semi-retired but still working weekend security shifts to keep from driving my wife crazy, pulled me aside near the entrance. "I always knew you were special, Sam," he whispered. "Most folks would have just said sorry to that young mom and moved on. You didn't. That's character." The in-store event was a success, with local news coverage and families lining up to receive supply kits. But the most meaningful moment came afterward, when Emma, Lily, and I walked to register number 7, now modernized with a sleek new design, but still in the same location. Standing there, with my wife and daughter beside me, I marveled at how life can pivot on the smallest decisions. One ordinary evening, one tired mom, one package of diapers, and now a national program helping hundreds of thousands of families, a career I never imagined, and a family of my own. In my office at the Pampers headquarters hangs that original receipt for $16.19, framed next to my first company ID badge. Whenever I have a challenging day or face a difficult decision, I look at it and remember how a small act with no expectation of return changed everything. Grandma Rose often told me, "The world is a mirror, Sammy. Give it light, and it will shine right back at you." In my lowest moment, I gave a small flicker light, just $16.19 worth of kindness, and received an ocean of brightness in return. Last month, I took Kate and her boys on a surprise trip to Disney World, something they'd never been able to afford. Watching Luke's face as he met his favorite character, seeing Kate finally relax after years of constant worry, I felt the circle of kindness expanding outward. Emma and I are expecting our own child now, a little brother or sister for Lily. Sometimes at night, I put my hand on Emma's growing belly and tell the baby about Grandma Rose, about kindness boomerangs, about how one decision in a Target checkout line can ripple outward in ways you'd never expect. My life isn't perfect, of course. The corporate world still feels foreign sometimes. I still wake up certain that someone will realize I don't belong in boardrooms making million-dollar decisions. Emma and I have our disagreements, like any couple. Parenting Lily has its challenges, especially as she enters the why phase of questioning everything. But these are blessed problems compared to where I was 2 years ago, broke, jobless, and thinking my one act of kindness had ruined my life. How wrong I was. We're all just ordinary people living ordinary lives. The cashier who bags your groceries, the parent counting change at the checkout, the security guard watching from the corner. Each of us carries the potential to change lives through the simplest actions. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see." That night at Target, Emma saw kindness when most would have seen just another cashier. And I saw a chance to help when others might have seen just another customer problem. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had been on break when Emma came through the line, or she'd chosen a different register, or if I followed the rules and declined to help. The butterfly effect of that one moment still amazes me. How the universe can pivot on something as small as $16.19. I'm not special. I'm just a guy who made a choice, the same choice millions of people make every day when they see someone in need and decide to help. The only difference is that mine was caught on camera and amplified by circumstance. So if there's a moral to my story, it's this. Throw your boomerang of kindness without expecting anything in return. You never know when it might come back to you, carrying gifts you never imagined possible. Because in the end, we're all just making our way through this life together. And sometimes, all it takes to change the world is one small act of kindness at exactly the right moment.